Hello and welcome to another episode of Thrive Community Conversations. I am Brooke Beeler, Chief Visionary and Community Builder here at Thrive DTSP. And today I am talking to Kim Vogel, whose expertise and talents defy any singular description or title. So I am going to leave it up to you to contextualize what you do and what we're going to chat about today.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Kim Vogel. I see myself most importantly as a collaborator, a connector, and a creative. And I am truly all about figuring out how we collaboratively build community, right? And I want to start by saying happy birthday to Thrive.
Let's go. 6 years.
DTSP.
6 years.
I have a very, I think, unique relationship with this space. And more importantly, I think I have a very unique relationship with Brooke Beeler. I want to put into context the piece of how Brooke and I first met, which I think was probably, what are we at, 9 years ago?
Probably.
8 or 9 years ago now. And we actually met at a 1 million cups.
Yep.
In St. Petersburg.
Yep.
At that point, I was co-managing the greenhouse. We held 1 million cups at the greenhouse, and Brooke, of course, walked in and was a light and life and all of those things, which was always, it was very fun when she was ever in the room, and was managing another co-working space at that time when we met. But we hit it off. We knew that we were meant to be community collaborators, and I think ever since that day we have been. And then this space opened up before it was Thrive Downtown St. Pete, or DTSP. And I was actually given an office here. I was working out of here with the previous managers and all of those kind of things. It was during COVID time. It was really crazy time.
Weird time.
A weird time, right?
2020, going into 2021. Nobody knew what was happening.
We didn't know what was happening. But this space went under different ownership. And it was awesome because they knew that they wanted to do something very dynamic with the space. They saw the potential that they had. And I said, well, if you know what you have here and you know you have potential, there's only one person that you need to bring in here, and that is the marvelous Brooke Beeler. So Brooke truly is, you truly are a chief visionary and community connector. So it's just an amazing thing what you guys have done with this space. But I think more importantly, which I think is really what our conversation is about today, is the importance of what it really means to build community and to be on the ground floor. So happy birthday, Thrive.
Thank you. Listen, we have really celebrated, and I love it that we're going to kind of go there and talk about community because it's such an overused word now, and I think it means so many different things to so many different people. And I will say, too, when I first came in here and I said, well, I'm going to build a community and this collaborative community, I will say in all of the things I have done in my long professional career, building community is far and away the hardest thing I have ever undertaken. And you're never done. There's no there, right? You don't say, okay, I did it. I built community. It requires nurturing and pivoting and shifting gears, and I always describe it as trying to train an amoeba. So it's I'm so thrilled that you talked about that though, because I want to go in and talk to you and get your perspective about St. Pete and where we are and some of the projects that you're working on specific to St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay as it relates to community and what that means for the health of the place that we live, our city.
I love that you brought that up about building community because there are so many people that are doing really, really good work in our community, in St. Petersburg, in the entire Tampa Bay region, right? And one of the things as community builders, I think that the good work that we are seeing and where it's making a difference is when people are doing it from a very authentic place, right?
Yep.
When they are saying, I am truly doing this for the good of the community. And in that doing it for the good of the community, like the barriers of competition fall away, right? Like that I want to lift you up because I know that when the time comes, you're going to lift me up too.
100%.
Right? And that's not always an easy amoeba, right? To create. And I think probably one of my most favorite sayings, and I will repeat it today more than once, is we can only move at the speed of trust, right? I had heard that a couple of years ago, actually through the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay. And I think it is true, right? Like relationships are the core of community, are what make community happen. And we can have the greatest and the best ideas, and we can have the greatest and the best intentions. But if people don't trust what our ideas and our intentions are, it may not go anywhere.
And it won't. And
It won't go
it
anywhere.
can't. And it's funny too because trust and faith go so hand in hand, and it requires both. Not only trusting that the community is going to take care of you and take care of itself, but also there has to be a lot of faith. I'm going to give of to myself. I'm going to give of myself to this organization, to this group, to this person, to this cause. And like you said, being authentic, you have to have faith that then at some future point in time, if you need also to be in a giving space, that it will come back to you.
That's right.
But you can't go into it saying, all right, this is a quid pro quo. I'm going to give you this, and I expect you to give me back this. And I think that's where I see a lot of communities struggle, not just in the entrepreneurial startup ecosystem, but just any kind of community. And we see that so much in St. Petersburg, right? We had this massive influx of people in 2021, right about the time I got here.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you ask people, why were you here? Why did you come to why St. Pete? Oh, community. We love the community. It's all about community. Well, that's great to say, and it is correct, but you can't just like show up in a community and say, okay, I'm here. Now I'm in. I'm part of the community.
Yeah.
And I think that was a disconnect that a lot of those newcomers didn't quite figure out, but they are now. And I know that they are because I see people like you and Ashby Green, your partner in Gazelle Ventures, because you're leveraging that base desire of these people to give of themselves to this greater place where we are, and you're giving them a pathway and an angle and a way to really move the needle. So what does that look like, and how are you seeing the changes of how people connect to this community by virtue of that?
Thank you for that. I love that. And I also think the one thing I do believe is very true about Tampa Bay and about St. Petersburg in particular is that people can come in here and you can engage, right? Like it's not a community where you have to stand, outside the door and go, I'm here,
Right.
I'm here, I'm
Right.
here. You don't have to do that here. Like people are like, come in, sit at our table, join us. We want you here. Having moved here and, into this area, it's been 10 years. I can't believe it. We've been here for 10 years. And, we're at that time in our lives where it was like, if we move to this new community and we end up making friends and we, end up just absurdly happy and all of those things that happen when, after you have been someplace for most of your life, and specifically from the Midwest, right? If we come here and it's good for us and it's good for our family and all of that kind of stuff, well, that's a bonus, right? Like that's the bonus. Well, I feel like we we got the bonus plus 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 because we've been here for 10 years. We dropped ourselves in here and we said, hey, we're here, and like, where do you need us? Like, how can we help? Where can we be? What can we get excited about, and what can we get passionate about here in this community? And there has been kind of one project after another that has really at least ignited my fire and has gotten me really excited about what's possible.
And now you have more projects than you know what to do.
And now I have more projects than I know what to do
They're
with.
all fabulous.
And they are all fabulous. And, I think so. And I'm going back to this 10 years ago because I met Ashby, right? I met Ashby 10 years ago when we were both working for a fabulous startup, right? And watching that startup grow right before our eyes and being a part of that team and then turning around and watching that founder be able to sell, and after having worked really, really hard at creating something absolutely wonderful, right? And I don't, and Ashby doesn't want to see people like that founder, like Kyle, leave our community. Like, we need more of the Kyles, right? We need more of the Ruben Pressmans. We need more of these people who are the Chris Bennett's, the people who have been here from that entrepreneurial ecosystem standpoint, heads down, building, creating, hiring, doing all of those things. And because of the work that those founders did, it is bringing in amazing founders like the Jarrett Wolves, right?
Right.
And bringing in these founders who are saying, wow, this community has something so exciting and so dynamic, and that we want to be a part of it. And so one of the things, again, in a former role, is seeing that these founders, these entrepreneurial-led founders, these homegrown founders, are missing that access to capital that they deserve.
Right.
Right?
And we saw this all the time. We have
did.
these amazing founders who are here in Tampa Bay, and where are they getting their funding? New York, Chicago, Silicon Valley, Boston. And on the flip side, we're seeing investors here, and where are they investing their money? New York, Chicago, Silicon Valley, Boston. And it's just an insane disconnect that you and I have been shaking our fists at for
at least 9 years.
9
At
years.
least.
And so now here we are, and now you actually have an opportunity to change the narrative and to flip the script on that. And so what does that look like, and how are you and Ashby going about that?
Yeah, so we are really trying to democratize wealth, right? Because when communities at this homegrown level, at this opportunity to say to any given founder on any given day, hey, we really believe in what you're doing. We're going to do the due diligence just like any other VC fund is going to do. We want to make sure that you have what you need, and not just the funding part, right? But we want to make sure that you have the support, because funding is only half of the battle.
Right.
Right? What founders need and what entrepreneurial founders are looking for is not to be alone.
Right.
Right? They don't want to be lonely. They want to know that there is a team of experts that is there to help them when they need it. Right? And they also want to know what they don't know when they don't know it.
Right.
Right? And so teach me what I need to do. Help me move through this phase of starting my business, of growing my business, of scaling my business. So what Gazelle Ventures is trying to do is basically to say, if you're coming with us here and we fund you at this level that we fund you at, we're going to be there to support you, right? Like, we're going to wrap around you, I should say, wrap our support around you, because the money is important. right? But
But
the
it's not
money
just
is not as important
right.
as the moving the needle for a founder. Because when that founder sees that kind of support, what is that founder going to do? That founder is going to turn around and they are going to hire my neighbor and your neighbor, right? And then it's not just about those jobs that are being created. It is also about those people then, because they were hired by this phenomenal startup founder who has been working like crazy, in his own Florida room, in her own, garage, wherever it is, right? Those people are going to walk away when that company either sells or whatever it may be. And what are they going to do? They're going to be able to come onto somebody else's cap table.
Right.
And they're going to be able to start creating wealth for their family, not just through the work that they did as an employee, but then the work that they did in growing that company. So for us, for what we're trying to build, it's this flywheel effect of creating wealth. And there was a statistic that was shared, that 75% of wealth is coming in, or investment is coming in from out of state in Florida, which is like, that's yay. That's amazing that people are seeing, right? Like what it is that Florida has and what it is that these founders are doing. Okay, what's the flip side of that?
Right.
Right? That means that there's only 25% of us investing in us.
Right.
Right? So what would that look like if, there was another percent or 0.5%, or, let's get crazy and say, what if more money was coming, right?
Right.
And it was coming from here in support of what's happening for my neighbor, your neighbor, et cetera, right?
And that is literally the definition of community, right?
Exactly.
That means I know you. I have a connection to you. I care about you. I care about your success because your success means my community's success, right?
Yeah.
A couple of things I want to touch on because you talked about Gazelle Ventures, and I was just going through your website and talking about some of your differentiating factors of what you guys do. And I loved the term when you were talking about this group of smart people that you're going to surround our founders with. And you talked about rolling up your sleeves. Like, these are not people, this network that you're building, it's not just here's a check, see you later, let me know when there's an exit. It's I'm in it. Like, I'm giving you money, but I'm also in it to make sure that this is going to be successful. I'm really smart in this area. I have connections in this area. I have experience in this particular phase, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a really important distinction, because how many times have you and I been in a room and people are like, I'm venture capital, and what is that? Okay, cool. What
does
a
that
dime a dozen. What does that
mean?
mean? I mean, but you guys really lay it out about what that means.
We do.
And so talking about, like, kind of taking another step away from the kind of mechanics, but let's talk about where we are in this process as a city. And I think you nailed it. You said we're really at an inflection point right now.
We are.
We have the right stuff here. We've got people who are community minded.
Yeah.
We have people who have wealth. We have really smart founders who are doing incredible work and starting very high potential companies.
Yep.
So all of it's there. It's just we need the glue to bring it together.
We need the glue.
And I've been really ruminating on this because you and I are huge fans of our friend Erica Haskins and her brilliance when it comes to
she is
this stuff.
prophetic
Hi,
in
Erica.
this. We love you, Erica.
We love you. But Erica brought up such a salient point, and again, I'm going to refer to my notes here, talking about you hear cities all over the U.S., right? You and I both travel to these places. You as a function of your job in 1 Million Cups.
And
We'll talk about
Foundation.
that in a minute. I go on leadership trips with the city and go to different cities and learn what people are doing. And there's kind of this common narrative where they say, well, how can we make our place attractive to the people with the money? How do we create this very attractive ecosystem? And so Erica is like, no, that's not how you do it.
No, that's right.
And so these are her words. Community capital is not simply a financing mechanism. It's an expression of economic self-determination.
Yes.
Right? So it's
Right.
not about how do we make ourselves look cool and sexy to the people in Boston, Silicon Valley, and New York.
Right.
Like, how do we make the people here think that we're cool and sexy and care about that?
Exactly. That is exactly right. And I love how she said that, right? Like we are our best hope, right?
Yep.
For creating the kind of community that we want. And if we think that it's going to happen, waiting for other people to show up, well, we've got another thing coming.
Right.
Right. And the nice part about this region is that I don't see that. I really do see this idea of self-determination, right? That people really, and that I think people move here because they see that resiliency and that self-determination of people, right? And of individuals. And, the one thing that, we're not supposed to say it, but the diversity, why wouldn't we use that word, right? The diversity of the people that are here and that are making positive choices to move here and to be a part of this community is what is making this ecosystem so unique, right? And so for us to have that level of self-determination and to say, we're creating our own capital here.
Yep.
Right? Like we're doing it. Like we need to be really proud of that. And that, it moves me into this other side of what part of our thesis is with Gazelle Ventures is from the investor point of view, right? Like you can come into our fund at a level that most VCs are not looking at, right? And I also don't want this to come off as if we're trying to undersell what we're doing. What we're trying to do is make VC approachable and accessible, right? And acceptable and ethical and authentic, right? So investors can come into our fund at $25,000, right? And it's not an angel fund. I don't want people to get confused about that either.
Right.
Right? But we want people to be able to come in at that level because we all deserve to be at the table. Right? And it's been so amazing and so interesting to me, the people who have reached out. And it's not folks that you think that it would be. It is, which makes it even better. It is these unexpected folks who are like, no one's ever invited me to that table. I didn't even know that I could potentially do this.
Right.
And now you're saying that this is possible. And it's career track women who are coming to the table. It is younger millennials who are saying, I've got time. I've got resources. I want to figure out how to make this happen.
Right.
It is unexpected folks. And those are the people that we want making up our table, right? And who are coming in and are making up our kind of core investors. And they're also freaking smart and amazing and who are like, not only do I want that, but I want to roll up my sleeves.
Right.
Because somebody did it for me.
And roll up my sleeves because this is, for I think a lot of these people too, this is something I've never done before.
Right.
You and I have both talked. I mean, you're a transplant from the Midwest. We have a lot of folks from the Northeast, from the Midwest here.
Right.
And I sit down and I talk to them, in a comfortable level, where does your money go? Kind of as you're semi-retired or thinking about retirement, what does that look like? And for most of these people, it's very conservative investment funds. And you ask them, well, have you ever thought about, venture capital? Oh, and it's too risky. I'm not sure. I don't get it.
And some people haven't had good experience with it.
There's that too. And you're just like writing a check to somebody somewhere. You don't know where the money goes. And But I think when you talk about democratizing, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just about different wealth levels,
Right.
it's about different backgrounds and experience. So
Correct.
if you make this number a little smaller, you're not asking someone to cash out 75% of their 401k
That's right.
to invest in a fund. It's like, hey, take
Yep.
a little out, and this is going into the community to build this space that you have invested in property and your time and your
That's right.
nonprofits and whatever else it is. So I like thinking about democratization and diversity of community wealth building in a lot of ways that people don't traditionally
Yeah.
think about that
That's
too.
right. I do too. And and also, it's we're not a nonprofit. Like the goal is that
Right.
you're going to put your money in, and we're all going to make money,
Right.
right? And if we find and we have those unicorn, and that's the goal, there's always going to be that goal of finding those unicorns, right? But if you have one unicorn, what about your other, your portfolio of 10?
Right.
What about your other 9? Can we put the work in? Can we count on these founders? Can we count on each other and ourselves, right? To put the work in to see steady, consistent growth, like the kind of growth that makes a difference in an investment that you make and that I make,
Right.
right?
Right. It's so I love this so much.
I
I
do
mean,
too. I
you and
mean,
you and I could talk about this all day. And
we
then
could.
and then
We
I
could.
think another really salient point that Erica makes in this most recent post is she uses the word sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you think of a current in the traditional VC model, where rich people from wherever throw money into this
That's right.
fund and it gets dispersed and some comes back. Well, when times get tough,
Mm-hmm.
then people stop funding the VC and they just kind of get on with their lives, um, always chasing the highest growth, highest return. When you think about building a community and building community wealth, the obvious outcome of that is when this wealth is generated, then those people want to continue, like you said, the flywheel effect, right?
Yep.
That founders are going to stay here. We all know, you and I both know tech founders, there's not just one. They don't like just exit and that's it
That's
and
right.
retire. It's the second, third, fourth, fifth venture. They're going to stay here. They're going to continue then to invest in other startups like, hey man, I've been there. I see
Yeah.
you. And keeping all of that here. It's not because we're trying to be insular, but that
No.
is then you're not going to just jump ship the second that something goes wrong.
That's right.
When you're building community, you're not just building your bank
Right.
account.
Right. And we want to make sure that the founders see and feel that support so that when and if an exit does happen, that they don't exit too.
Right. Right.
Right. And so, we have a couple of examples in this community from, way back when, right?
Mm-hmm.
When these founders did exit. And we just don't want to see that happen.
Right.
Right. Because, I mean, our best days are ahead of us. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And our best and most brilliant people, I think, are here right now.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so, how do we, quote unquote, capitalize on these great minds, these great ideas to really move this forward? And, if founders know, because again, man, entrepreneurship and starting a company is so lonely. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is so lonely. So if they know that they don't have to be alone, that they have this level of support, when times get tough, but also when things are good,
Mm-hmm.
again, we want them to turn around and to be able to say,
Right.
we're in, we love this. Where now, now what do you want me to do?
Right.
Now, how can I help?
Right.
How can I help this next founder
Right.
with this brilliant idea? So that's the thing I think we're most excited about.
Well, and I can't think of a better city to do
Right?
something like this in. And going all over, I know you travel all over the place. I travel
do.
all over the place. One thing I can say that is so unique about St. Petersburg is our abundance mindset,
I agree.
right? That I think we all know we're onto something great here.
Mhm.
And there's enough potential for us all to be successful, for us all to make money, for us all to feel good in the place where we are. And when you have that trust, faith, comfort, it's then it's very easy to not be so proprietary about your own success, right?
Agreed.
And you don't have to be worried, well, if they get a customer, that's one less customer I have. Or if this founder gets an investor, that means I don't get that investor. And this is a different way of thinking about that. Like, hey, we're all in this together. This is a collaboration.
Yeah.
And that is, of all the things I can say about St. Petersburg, I will say that is one thing we really have going for us. And people say it all the time. You'll have people coming in from other regions, go to Tampa, and then come here. Sorry, I'm not trying to dog on Tampa, but without anybody ever saying it, it's very obvious. You can feel it in the air. This is different. The vibe here is different.
It is different, and that's what I think people love about Tampa Bay. I'm gonna.
That's fine. Good.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say that's what I think people
Yeah.
love about Tampa Bay is that it looks different. It looks different from one side of the bay to the next. And I think when you go into either one of those communities and you're like, okay, these are my people.
Right.
These are my people.
Right.
Right. Like, and the beauty is that now we have a new fancy bridge, so it's much easier to get back and forth. Right. But that diversity of those personalities of people going and finding their people is what makes this region so strong and so amazing. And listen, I am a St. Pete girl through and through, and I love who we are and what we've done and like what we continue to create. But our city is only as strong as our region is.
No, that's
right?
a great point. That is a great point.
And that includes Clearwater. That includes Tarpon Springs and Dunedin and Safety Harbor and like the entire county. It includes all of us, and it includes our friends to the south and our friends to the north, and all of that. And I think the more often that we talk regionalism, and I don't love to use that word regionalism. I'd rather us talk about the cool things that our friends over there are doing or our friends here are doing, or all of those kind of things. Like this is about trust. This is trusting that they have the best, the highest and best interest of their citizens in mind in the same way that we do. Right? In our community and our neighbors, because we trust that our neighbors are freaking brilliant, right? And we trust them that they trust that in their neighbors too. Right? So I think seeing that broader region puts so much power into our laps. We are unstoppable right now.
I feel that way.
We're unstoppable, and we can't. And I don't want us to be talking and comparing us to anybody else. I'm not even going to mention those other cities that get mentioned, right?
Right.
Because we're not the same,
right?
And nor do we want to be,
right?
Nor do we want to be. We don't want to be.
Bringing it to a very kind of silly and small level.
Yep.
When people talk about co-working spaces in St. Petersburg.
This is the coolest.
Well, but I kind of have the same narrative that you do about our region,
an OG here.
Right?
I love it.
So I say, listen, the great thing about St. Petersburg, if you're looking for a co-working space, we probably have one that's going to fit your vibe.
100%.
Right? If you're like buttoned up and professional and sleek and modern, there are places for you there. That's not Thrive. We're a little bit funkier, a little bit looser, a little bit more focused on the people aspect of what we do. That's not for everybody, and we're okay with that. And I'm just to kind of toot my own horn a little bit, too, about that collaborative abundance mindset. When someone comes in and says, hey, this is me, this is what I'm like, and I can immediately figure out, I think we'd probably make you crazy. I'm pretty upfront about it, right? Here, let me send you down the street. Let me go look up this person. I think you might really like this here. I mean, ultimately, it's about people finding where they feel comfortable and that they are in a place that they should be, that they can give and
Correct.
also receive,
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
So I do want to talk a little bit though about what you're doing for the Kauffman Foundation.
Yeah.
You have all these amazing projects that you're working on. I completely get it. I see the Venn diagram in my mind. But uh, what a
I'm glad
cool.
you do, because there are days where I'm like, oh no,
No, I
it all plays. It all plays.
I absolutely get it. I love every single bit of it. Talking to you and about you is like literally one of my favorite things.
And now I'm
But
blushing.
I love it that the whole Kauffman Foundation, 1 million cups, has come absolutely full circle for you
Yes.
in different touch points of your life. Definitely from your involvement when you were first here in St. Pete. But talk a little bit about the opportunity that you have now with them.
I will, absolutely. So I uh, man, I've been going to 1 million cups since literally 2013.
Yes.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is where I'm from originally, they were one of the first communities, kind of after Kansas City, to adopt the 1 million cups model. It started in a little coffee shop. It was in a weird, dark little office building for a while, kind of deal. And there was some great work in our community a few years previous to that. There had been a really devastating flood that had taken out most of the infrastructure. So there was just a lot of, obviously the all of the things happened. FEMA came and all of that money and all of the land got cleaned up and all of that, but it just took so long, right? All of that took long. But there were so many people that were on the ground, all of us who were, just citizens of the community living in the town, basically saying, okay, now what? Like we got to raise our kids here. I mean, at the time I was the city PTA president, and we lost, I think, 2 elementary schools
Oh.
and one of the middle schools, and our central office, like our education central office. And so just getting back to this sense of normalcy, just it took a long time. So I think it also gave people this opportunity to really vision, because up in the Midwest, I mean, it was a very Midwestern manufacturing, kind of hub for all sorts of, things. General Mills and Quaker Oats and, Rockwell Collins is based out of there. So lots of industry, but lots of industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it gave, I think, our community an opportunity to really revision, and to say, okay, who is it that we are and who is it that we want to be? And I think 1 million cups was a huge part of that. And right around that time, too, actually before that, there was a group of us who knew that we wanted to do something. And so, we bought an old abandoned warehouse from the city for $1, and we created this all year round city market. And it now has become truly, and unbeknownst to us at the time, we didn't realize like what an incubator it was going to be for Main Street businesses, and what an incubator it was going to be for brick and mortar businesses and all of that. And so for me, it was, then I got to, not only did I help get to build that, and then as an SBDC business counselor, I, got to help all those businesses like launch and get going and all of those kind of things too. So that was always a really exciting thing that was going on there too. But the 1 million cups piece was truly about community, right? And it was for me at a 1 million cups meeting that I was there, and at the time the SBDC director stands up and he's like, okay, we have so much cool stuff going on right now that I need some help, and I need a business counselor, and I need to hire somebody. And he and this is how 1 million cups works, right? Like it's connections, it's community, it's collaboration. And I walked up to him afterwards and I was like, Scott, like I would love to come work with you. I don't know what that's going to look like, but let's do it. He's like, all right, let's talk. And the next thing you know, I was, helping, again, incubate lots of these businesses, work with a ton of women business owners, really got a chance to, just dive deep in with those owners and founders. And I thank 1 million cups for that, And we would do a thing where 1 million cups would happen, and we would have office hours, and by that point we were in a really cool co-working space, and it was like a cool spot to be, and everyone wanted to be there and all of that. And we made a decision then a few years later that we were moving to Florida, and we didn't really know exactly where we were going to land. We knew that we wanted to be in the Tampa Bay region, and we had been coming back and forth to St. Petersburg, in particular, St. Pete Beach, because we loved the beach, and it was the most beautiful beach in the world for us. And so we did that for 16 years previous, whether it was spring break or Thanksgiving or whatever, kind of like a lot of people do. They come down here vacation, and they're like, now we're moving here, right? It took us a little bit. We had to, get people through schools and do all of those things. But when we made that decision that we were coming down here and that we were going to come to this area, my husband, Tom, looked at me and he's like, how are we going to decide? How are we going to decide, where we're going to live? And I was like, we're down here. We were looking for houses. We were doing all the things. And it was a Tuesday night. And I said, let's see who's got a 1 million cups.
Oh, yeah. I've never heard this story.
Yeah. I said, let's see who's got a 1 million cups. And gosh darn it, St. Petersburg showed up right on the very top. And we were like, okay, let's go. And we got up the next morning and showed up at the greenhouse at the St. Petersburg 1 million cups. And man, I was like, I think I found my people. And we were like, and we had some other friends that were living here at the time. John Sullivan, one of our very best friends, works for Eckerd, vice president of enrollment, and he kept saying, "You're going to want to be in St. Pete. I don't want you looking anyplace else. Just look in St. Pete." And he was right. He was absolutely right. And 1 million cups, I think, really solidified that for us, and really gave us that foundation, of saying, okay, yeah, I think we found our people. So it was exciting and dynamic. And now, here we are 10 years later, having been a lead organizer, having co-managed at the greenhouse, really working with 1 million cups and the Kauffman Foundation. It has always been organic, right? The way that communities have come forward with 1 million cups.
Right.
Right?
They step up and they raise their hand and say,
and they're like, we want to do this.
We want to do this.
We think that this is an important thing. Kauffman Foundation is saying, yes, we love that. And we want to be more intentional about the support that we give you. And so we are working on kind of a 5-year strategy of what that looks like. And us, from the Kauffman Foundation being more intentional about going into communities and saying, how can we help you build your ecosystem? What is it that we can do? 1 million cups isn't meant to be an end-all be-all for every community, but it's meant to be a really cool entry point for folks, right? It's meant to be a safe space. It's meant to be a collaborative space. It's meant to be like okay, I got your back, you got my back, right? And so this position, it's a contract position. You can't work for Kauffman unless you live in Kansas City. Well, the point is not to live in Kansas City. The point is to be
in the communities.
To be in the communities and to be on the road and all of that kind of stuff. So I right now have 36 communities that I'm responsible for, up and down the East Coast. And I don't want to say responsible because that's not right either. It's a network approach, right? It's like what makes one community strong in the middle of Florida is also going to make a community strong in the middle of North Carolina.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And up into Lehigh Valley and, et cetera, et cetera. So part of that, new strategy that Kauffman is taking too is that, again, we're going to be intentional about going into communities and saying, how can we help? Where do you need us? And I have to tell you, I have been on this crazy 90-day roadshow and going from community to community, and I'm having a blast. I love it because I am seeing what we see here all of the time, right? And dynamic people doing dynamic things. And it's places that people are like, okay, what?
Right.
This little town, this little area is doing what?
I've said that about 7 times when you've come back from a trip and said, oh my God, I was just in this tiny little place. You wouldn't believe how great they're doing.
It is so fun.
Right. I
it
love
is so
this.
fun. And I think, going back to this idea of regionalism too, Florida is kicking butt and taking names. Like there are 10 communities in Florida, 10 1 Million Cups communities with really, really strong ecosystems around them. Like, and people are in it. Like ESO leaders are in it. Like they are like, this is important. This is a great place for us, to get to our business owners and say, we're here. We're really here. We want to help you do this. And it's very exciting. I mean, there's 10. There's 10 communities in Florida. Of my 36, there's 10
Oh my gosh.
in Florida. So I find it to be really exciting. And it's just cool because potential is everywhere, right? Opportunity isn't. So if we can create these opportunities, we can create some kind of opening, things can start, things can grow, things can be created. And again, it's like, teaching what we're trying to teach ourselves here, working in communities and saying, you can create this flywheel too.
Right.
Right? Whether you ever start a fund or you don't start, I mean, like that's down the line for lots of communities, but it's this creation of this dynamic pathway into something that is going to be self-sustaining and is going to show, again, right, the self-determination, the resiliency that communities now more than ever need.
Absolutely.
Right? So if 1 Million Cups opens stuff up even just this much, it's a win-win, I think, for everybody. So I get to go do that and like cheer on people like across the East Coast, which, I mean, I love being a cheerleader and a champion for these people.
You're the best cheerleader ever.
Well, it gets me so excited too because it's like there's some really cool stuff happening. So anyway, that's what I'm doing too. So with that going, and then truly with Gazelle, and like Ashby keeps saying, every time you come back, you keep coming back with like more cool stuff and more ways for us to like layer what it is that we're doing and how much more powerful we can make this fund, and what it is that we're trying to do. So
Well, I'm going to take a page out of the Kauffman Foundation and 1 Million Cups, and I'm going to ask you, what can we, meaning anybody listening to this podcast, what can we as a community do to support Gazelle, to support the work you're doing in the Kauffman Foundation, to support our regional and local communities and the founders and investors who are making it amazing?
Oh my gosh, thank you for asking that question. It's such a good question.
It's a good question.
It is. It's the best. Honestly, be there and support each other, right? Like, and walk into everything with a spirit of collaboration, with a spirit of we can only move at the speed of trust, right? And, show up as, our authentic selves, and let each of us show up as our authentic selves too. Reach out, ask about what it is that we're doing. Even if you're like, I don't think I'm ready to be an investor, that's okay. Right? But at least reach out. Or I'm a founder and I think maybe I want to go this realm, but I don't really know what it means. Please just reach out and let's do some education together, and let's really see the power of what it is that we're doing, and how people can join us and be a part of it. Again, not everybody has monetary resources to be able to do this. We know that, we get that, but please still consider joining our movement, because we really do see this as a movement. We're not trying to be, like every other VC fund. We are trying to show that this is about community ownership, right? And in community ownership, as in my relationship to you and my relationship to you and my relationship to you, right? So for us, that's the most important thing. And so show up for one another. That is what the community...
Show up for 1 Million Cups.
Show up for 1 Million Cups. I mean, the 1 Million Cups St. Petersburg is still one of the best, one of the strongest communities. So show up there. And whenever you travel, make sure that you go and find a 1 million cups in your travels.
Wednesday morning,
Wednesday
9 a.m.
morning, typically 9 a.m.
And I'll just add another plug too for people who don't know what it is. It's an opportunity for local businesses to talk about what they're doing, and they get input and feedback from the community.
They do. It's a manatee tank, folks. It's a manatee tank.
Cool.
It is.
What I always tell people who go to a place or move to a city, I say go to 1 million cups, and people say, "Well, I don't really care about businesses or startups." It's not about that. It's about connecting with the people who care about that stuff and care about the community.
That's right.
And there's no better way to figure out what a city's all about than to sit in one of those rooms. And there is no possible way to not get excited and energized and engaged, because people take time out of their day to go there and give feedback, just because, again, they're giving and they also get out of it. So
it is truly where some of the biggest community ideas start, right? There's always like this little spark that happens, right? And you can see it. You can, every time that you're there, you can see it. I was in Asheville a couple weeks ago, and that's how those organizers describe it. They're like, Wednesday mornings is magical. Like, they describe it. I mean, it's Asheville, so of course we want them to say that, right?
Right.
But it's magical. And they truly believe that, because you can see that spark ignite in those people. And then in the conversations that continue to happen for that hour after, right? That 1 million cups is over, right? And, so that's always the most interesting thing is that organizers are like, people just keep wanting to stick around. So we're trying to facilitate how we just let people keep sticking around.
Right.
I'm like, good for you. That means that true community, authentic community is being built. So
fantastic.
that's what it means.
Well, thank you so much for
you.
being here. I love it. We're going to still do a talk show one day.
Yes, we are.
And but until then,
maybe it will be named Between the Palms.
Between the Palms. Yes. Until then, it's just gonna have to be podcasts here and there, but I love it. You're my favorite person, and we're so lucky to have you.
Oh, so lucky to have you, and so lucky to have this space.
Yeah.
And thank you again. Happy birthday to Thrive. And oh my gosh, you guys, this place would not be what it would be without Brooke Baylor.
Oh, thank you.
So she is a true champion. So
yay. Thank you.
Yay!
Yay! Yay! Yay!